Self-defense myth 59. The other guy doesn't train. I've heard this a lot from people in different clubs and different styles. I've mentioned it myself in a few clips. There seems to be this theory, or maybe it's a feeling among people who train, that if I get into a fight with somebody, I can do X, Y, Z because the other person won't have trained. How many of you watching this clip right now, without looking it up, would know who I'm talking about if I said the name Fedor Emelianenko? How many of you would know who I'm talking about if I said Matt Serra? How many of you would know Rickson Gracie if he bumped into you at the coffee shop? How many of you out there who know who Katie Taylor is? Maybe some of you do know who Katie Taylor is. It's fantastic. How many of you know who Gina Carano is? And if you do know Gina Carano, do you know her from the films or do you know her from her MMA and Muay Thai career? The reason I say this is because you don't know who that person in front of you is. And it's foolish to say they don't possibly train. Look at them, I look at the build, look at the way they're standing. They don't train. I train twice a week. I can take this guy. If you were to come face to face with Jeff Thompson, he's about 6 foot. I think he only weighs about 12 stone these days. He's just always a big beaming smile on his face, and he is the embodiment of, yeah, that guy's a professional writer. If you were told, oh, he's a writer, he writes scripts, you'd go, yeah, that's about right. The fact that he's got, it's either 10 or 11 black belts or coaching equivalents, and if need be, he could kill us all in a heartbeat, without breaking a sweat, doesn't come into it because you're looking at him and you're judging him by his appearance, and you're thinking, well, I train twice a week. It's unlikely that he does. He's a professional writer, for crying out loud. How many of them train? You cannot look at someone and say whether or not they fight. Even if you look at someone's build and you go, cauliflower ear. The guy's got a cauliflower ear, so he does something. Okay? That doesn't help me much because he could have the cauliflower ear from boxing. He could have the cauliflower ear from grappling. Two very distinct different ranges and different styles. He could have the cauliflower ear from playing rugby. Okay? So as much as rugby players want to say they're the toughest guys on the planet, just because you're a big fat boy with a broken nose and missing tooth and cauliflower ear doesn't mean you can fight with a fuck. Okay? So you don't know. He could be amateur wrestling champion. He could be a judo champion, a boxing champion. He could just be some guy who's played rugby for a while when he was in school, got a cauliflower and never got it fixed. It's not always an example. It's not always a telltale sign that this guy can go or he can't fight. So to go into a situation thinking, nah, this guy doesn't train, it's foolhardy and it's probably going to result in you getting a very rude awakening. Reality is a bitch. Reality does not care about your theories or your views. The truth does not care about your opinion. It does not care about your belief system. The truth and reality is what it is. It will not bend for anybody, and the world will not meet you halfway on certain stuff. So the fact that you've trained twice a week doesn't mean that the other person who's a reigning world champion in a sport you've never heard of, he's not going to go, okay, well, I'll only go half pace with you. You don't know who the other person is my point. You don't know what they train in. Sometimes you can tell by the way they stand. If they go into a certain stance, you go, oh, okay. But again, you don't know. You can never tell. And even if you do look at the stance and go, okay, this guy trains, you don't know how high a rank the guy is. You don't know how capable he is within that rank. So, the point being, if you can avoid, avoid. It's always the case. Awareness, avoidance, aggression. The aggression comes at the end because everything else has been exhausted. I've tried to avoid, he hasn't let me avoid. I've tried to escape, he hasn't let me escape. Now I need to get physical. Again, I'm not going to enter in a match fight with the guy just in case he's much, much better at that than me. I'm going to be a bit sneaky. I'm going to hit him when he's not expecting it, and then we're going to run. That's self-protection. It's self-defense. Get yourself out of there as quickly as you can. Because you don't know who he is. You don't know what he trains. You don't know what he might be carrying with him. You don't know how many friends he's got. It's always foolhardy to look at someone and go, I train twice a week, 3 times a week, 4 times a week. I can take this guy. Even if you're really, really high up in what you do, if the other guy's really, really high up in what he does, and he gets off first, you're fucked. You can look at it and go, okay, well, I'm a brown belt, black belt, second dan black belt in judo. I'm quite well built. I'm fairly confident I can do what I want. Great, that works really well right up until you get into an argument with a Brian Jackson or a Neil Adams, who even in their, shall we say, advanced age, they grab hold of you and you don't get free, and they just throw you for distance all over the damn place. You never know. You never know who the person in front of you is. You never know what they do. You never know what they're capable of. Even people who have no formal training, if they've spent the last 10 years, every weekend they go out, they have 3 or 4 pints, then they get into a fight. The guy's never set foot in a gym, never set foot in a dojo, he's never taken a formal lesson. He'll have 3 or 4 things that he does that work. And those things work every single time. Because he's used it every weekend for the past decade. So if we can avoid, we avoid. If we can escape, we escape. We only really think about getting into a physical fight if there's nothing else left for us to do. So, when I work on the door, everyone always tells me, you're the nicest guy, you're the friendliest bouncer, you're the funniest bouncer, you have a laugh with us, you don't seem so po-faced and miserable like everybody else. So maybe a lot of people look at me, I'm only 5'10", I'm about 14 stone, I'm not the biggest guy working the doors, I don't come across the most aggressive or the most violent. Maybe people do think they could take me. I don't know, I hope I never have to find out. But if they only see me working the door 2 or 3 times a week, and they don't know of my background in combat sports, martial arts, and reality training, they're going to get woken up very quickly, and it'll be a kind of ironic that waking them up will actually put them to sleep. But still, point is, you never know who the person is in front of you. You never know what they've trained. So always be nice, always be friendly. We catch more flies with honey than vinegar. Go forward, be friendly, meet the entire world with a big smile if you can. I know it's difficult in this day and age, but that's the mindset we should have. Train hard, train smart, stay safe.